This is a Mirror Now exclusive. The National Tiger Conservation Authority, which is the NTCA, it is out with its report regarding Tigress Avni's death. And it has debunked and it has exposed the claims that have constantly been made by the Maharashtra government and the hunters that the tigress was killed in self-defense, that the Tigress Avni was about to pounce at the shooters, at the hunter, which is why she was shot down immediately. But these are the findings of the report on what really happened. This report says Tigress Avni was walking away when she was being shot by the hunters. The report further exposes how the hunter, who was hired, Asghar Ali Khan, seemed to be hiding information. He's failed to produce a licensed weapon as well in front of the committee, and he's killed the tigress with an unauthorized weapon. Even the drugs that were used to tranquilize the animal were handled by an unauthorized person. So they neither had a doctor, a vet on board either. Our correspondent Amita is getting us further inputs. Amita, these are very crucial inputs here coming in from this report. Without doubt, there would be a lot for the Maharashtra government, the Forest Department and the State Forest Minister now to answer to this.
Well, absolutely. In fact, the report contradicts all of the claims being made by the state government. Its lies have now been exposed. Claim number one, that this was done in self-defense. Now, the report very categorically says that Tigress T1 was not charging at the team as mentioned by the state government and the Forest Department, that it was moving away from the team. There was no veterinarian at that point in time, no trap cage. These are the points that we had raised earlier as well. This reports after reports have now confirmed this theory is completely false. Apart from that, it also talks about how the shooter in question here, Asghar Ali Khan, did not have license to shoot in the first place. The person who conducted the dart, in fact prepared the dart, in fact did not have any authority to do so. What was the Forest Department doing all this while is the biggest question that now petitioners and activists are asking, because the NTCA report, while on the one hand blames both the hunter and the hunter's father and the team in question, they haven't really spoken about whether Forest Department was in itself responsible at all. And that is one question now being raised by petitioners.
All right, Amita, so what is going to be the next step with respect to these investigations? You have the NTCA now, which is officially out with its report with the findings, also pertaining to the kind of action now that needs to be taken, not just against the shooter or against the team that was formed here to be doing this operation, but more importantly, to nail the person who authorized this. And this is the minister, this is the State Forest Minister sitting right on top.
Well, that's correct. Unfortunately, the NTCA report does not talk about who was really responsible for this, except for blaming the people who are employed by the Forest Department, Seher. But they also talk about how the divisional manager of FDCM, for instance, which is an ally of the Forest Department, did not care to intervene in this process, partly shifting blame on the FDCM, which is an entity in itself, but not the Forest Department per se. We understand now that post this, the NTCA has given a show cause notice to the state government's Forest Department and have asked for a reply within the next 15 days. They've asked the state government now to take action against the people responsible. There are a couple of people who have been mentioned, including the shooter in question in this report.
Amita, if you could also bring us more details on how, with respect to the nature of evidence that has been formed, that has been found, in fact, based on which this report has been out, which is to establish here on how several rules were flouted. These are several rules which have been established with respect to the guidelines, and they were brazenly flouted without any fear of the law.
Well, for instance, Seher, self-defense theory by the government has now been busted. The entire detail of what really happened and transpired that night has now been written in this particular report. Apart from that, there was no veterinarian present on that night. People who were involved in shooting the Tigress, the report very categorically says that the intention of the team that went out was very, very clear. It was to kill and not to tranquilize the Tigress. And more importantly, they also talk about how they think that the shooter here in question, Asghar Ali Khan, seems to be hiding information, because there is one crucial point here to be made, which is the weapons. Weapons are still with the Telangana police. When asked about the weapons and the kind of make, the shooter here did not have any answers, according to this report that we have now accessed. Therefore, the team, the committee there in question
Okay.
has now concluded that the shooter was hiding information and was not licensed, in fact, to use that
Okay.
weapon.
That's right. Amita, stay with us. Let's get in a word here from the petitioner in this case here, Dr. Gerald Bennett. We also have animal rights activist Ms. Kamna Pandey with us. First to you, Dr. Bennett. In your view, how is this going to be legally working next for this fight as far as getting justice for the Tigress Avni who was shot down in cold blood?
Legally, madam, this case has to be brought in front of High Court and also Supreme Court if need comes, because this has become a precedent, and such example should not be said in front of the entire nation, that a voiceless mother is killed and her two cubs are orphaned. And because we have taken this case previously, we are going to bring it to a proper end and show that the people who were involved in this case, the entire operation, the ones who are guilty of this crime, should be given full punishment, and this should not happen with any other voiceless animal hereafter. And we will make sure that the people who are culprit in this case come to some logical end and there is some punishment given to them.
Right. Ms. Pandey, do you see justice for the Tigress here, given the fact that this is now an official NTCA report out with its findings, but at the same time, constantly you've had the Maharashtra government, you've had the State Forest Minister who've continued to justify the means, the manner in which this issue was approached and conducted?
Actually, the problem is that there is an entire state machinery which is shielding the hunter. The petitioners, the activists, all of us have been crying hoarse right from the beginning, from the point of declaration of Avni as man-eater. That itself being the basis of the entire action that followed, that itself was not according to the NTCA guidelines. She shouldn't have been declared man-eater in the first place. From there on, the shooting orders given, and then the petitioners approaching the court, the Menka Gandhi ma'am intervening, and the orders were taken back. The order were revised and given first to tranquilize. Then the court also gave order. In between, all of this has been completely wiped out. They do not mention that they have or they had already given orders of shooting much before the court said anything on it. From there itself, it was clear that they only and only wanted to eliminate Avni. Because of the pressure of activists, because of the pressure of media, they had to put up a show of tranquilizing. They did not cooperate with the vets. They sabotaged the attempts of tranquilizing her, even concealed information regarding her location and sighting when they were very close to her.
But the manner in which they've dealt with this case, it also indicates that there was undue pressure on the team to shoot down the Tigress. Dr. Bennett, from your understanding, where was this pressure coming from to so hastily and shoddily do this operation that just kill the Tigress come what may?
This was directly coming from Mr. Khan. He was not allowing the veterinarians to act in the way they deserve to. He was not allowing them to have a free hand. He was sabotaging all their efforts, and Mr. Khan was getting a blanket cover from the forest minister and the entire forest department. The forest minister had spread a red carpet for him and welcomed him as if it was a British hunting game going on, and he was given all the rights and all the liberty to act in whichever way, as if he's a dictator, and the entire forest department was acting according to his whims and fancy.
That's right. So there should questions being asked. There should questions be asked also with respect to the role of the State Forest Ministry. Let's get in a word here from Suman Virwani, activist with us on the phone line as well. Thanks for being with us, Ms. Virwani. In your view, in what the NTCA final report establishes? One, of course, it establishes how multiple roles were flouted. But can it hold the State Forest Ministry accountable here for having given the go-ahead for this shoddy job?
Hi. Yes, absolutely. The NTCA report, as you see, it highlights clearly that, like you mentioned, that the SOPs were not followed. There is violation of Arms Act as well, because unlicensed weapon was being used by Asghar Ali. Asghar Ali was not authorized to kill or eliminate or sedate or tranquilize Tigress T1. So this clearly indicates that, Forest Department, along with the PCCF, is wholly responsible for complete failure of catching or capturing Tigress T1.
All right. Dr. Bonet, I'm going to be very quickly asking you that question as well. As far as where the buck stops here on this, who's the topmost authority responsible? Can the NTCA report establish that the buck stops at the State Forest Ministry here?
Of course, Annette, is only the State Minister and the entire top-level officials who are responsible for this very orchestrated or very well-managed cold-blooded murder of Avni, and these people have to answer. There was a very big conspiracy going on. They were protecting this father-son duo, and they could have come very well clean in front of the entire nation and said that whatever the violations have happened. Now that these investigation authorities are bringing out the reports, they were saving them previously. Now they should be responsible enough to take the charge and quit or resign from their own post, and not just be stuck in a place where they feel that they can do anything and whatever they want to do, violating all the laws and all the standard operating procedures and each and everything according to their own whims and fancy of their seat. This is absolutely the power of
Dr. Bonet, many thanks. I'm afraid we'll have to leave it at that. Many thanks. And an abuse of power in the position that you are to shoot down a helpless animal, a helpless mother in the forest, so to say here. Many thanks for all of those voices that have spoken to us, and our correspondent Amita with these exclusive details here on this report.